Hello, my name is Nicole Gurley, and I'm a college transition counselor for Orange County Public Schools. I'll be taking you through step by step how to complete the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. There are multiple reasons that we recommend that all seniors fill out the FAFSA, no matter what the income of the family is. The first reason to complete a FAFSA is that there's a chance of receiving approximately $6,495 free from the government to help pay for school. As students need to complete the FAFSA every year, this would be enough to cover some tuition prices and or receive some money back if a student is attending a 2-year college. There is also a chance of a student qualifying for work study and working on a college campus, or qualifying for low-interest loans, some of which the interest does not start accruing until after a student graduates from college. Keep in mind that all colleges look at the information from the FAFSA differently, so they may have a higher threshold of family income in order to qualify for need-based aid. In order to complete a FAFSA, a student must be a U.S. citizen, permanent resident, or eligible non-citizen, asylum granted. The eligibility requirements are only for the student. It does not matter the status of the parent. Every college has their own priority deadline dates in order to qualify for all of the scholarships and grants that a school has to offer. So make sure to check the college websites. We usually recommend, to be safe, the student should complete the FAFSA by November 1st. The FAFSA itself is located at fafsa.gov, as it is a government secure website. You can choose to complete it in English or Spanish and click Start Here, or log in if you have already started. If the applicant already does have a FAFSA form on file, he or she will have the option to select Start Over to begin a new form, or Continue to resume completion of an already existing form. If a student is filling out the FAFSA for the first time, you will select your role in filling out the FAFSA form: student, parent of a student, or preparer helping a student, which is very rare. The form will ask you to create an FSA ID, log in if the student already has an FSA ID, or start the form with personal identifiers. All students will need to create an FSA ID in order to complete a FAFSA. An FSA ID is created in order to prove identity and sign off on the FAFSA. If the student has an older sibling that completed a FAFSA, the parent should already have an account. There is only one account per person. All students and one parent, if the student is a dependent, will need to create an FSA ID. If a parent does not have a Social Security number, they will not be able to create one, and therefore will have another option to submit the FAFSA. Use personal email addresses, not a school account. Every FSA ID is linked to one Social Security number, one email, and one phone number. Therefore, students and parents cannot share phone numbers or emails. In order to match with the Social Security Administration, the FSA ID must match how a name is written on the Social Security card. In order to recover a username or password in the future, you'll be prompted to verify an email and/or phone number, as well as challenge questions. After students log into the FAFSA with their FSA ID, they will choose the aid year. If a student is beginning college in the fall, they will complete the 22-23 FAFSA. If they are beginning college in the summer, they will complete the 21-22 FAFSA. If a student applies to the fall, but then is accepted to the summer term, he or she can come back and complete the 21-22 FAFSA. Here you will create a save key in case you get logged out. It is a 4-digit PIN number. You can either read more information about the FAFSA or scroll down and click Continue. Throughout the FAFSA, every time a question includes you or your, the answer will be from the student. Pay attention to either student or parent wording as well. The first 3 tabs will all require the student's information. The next 2 will be parent, and then back to the student for the student's financial information. All responses on the FAFSA have a question mark next to them to click on in order to explain what is needed further. It is beneficial for the student to include an email address on the FAFSA form in order to receive important communication about the student's financial aid. Make sure the student is using his or her personal email address and not his or her school account. Here, the students will enter the address of where they are currently living. Then, the students will choose their state of residency, as well as if they are a U.S. citizen, eligible non-citizen, or ineligible. Eligible non-citizens will include permanent residents, as well as those whose asylum has been granted. Ineligible students with a Social Security number, for work only, can complete the FAFSA in case the status changes during the school year, but will not receive funding until asylum is granted or student becomes a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. For more information, please visit the link provided. All males must register with the Selective Service when they turn 18 in order to receive financial aid. Students can then enter their driver's license information or continue, as the driver's license information is not needed. Enter if they were in foster care and what level of schooling their parents completed. Here, all high school students should enter no and then answer the question regarding drug offenses. This is the first page for the high school selection. Students will enter their high school information and click Search. They will then mark the school that they attend and click Continue. They will then confirm the high school and click Continue. Students have to enter at least one college on their FAFSA, or add up to 10. They can either enter the state, city, and/or school name, or find the federal code for the college and enter it. If they need to add more colleges, they can do so after they have submitted their FAFSA and receive their student aid report by logging in to make corrections and deleting those colleges entered and adding others. You will then click on the colleges you would like to enter and add your housing plan for when you attend the college. This is the first page of the dependency status section. Remember, we are still answering for the student, so this is the student's marital status. The following questions in the dependency section will determine if the student can be independent and not need parent information. All of these situations listed will still require parent information. Does the student have his or her own children or other people that he or she supports financially? Mark yes or no and continue. Read through all of the following carefully, as this will determine if a student is independent. If a student is determined to be independent, he or she will need to prove his or her status at the financial aid office of the college. A legal guardian is one who has gone through the court system, not just the district office. Here, the student will be asked if he or she is homeless or self-supporting and at risk of being homeless. Again, there will need to be verification given to the financial aid office at the college. All students are required to provide parent information if determined to be dependent. If a student does not have parent information at this time, he or she can click Save and continue at a further time. If the dependent user is unable to provide parental data on the FAFSA form, he or she should select, I am unable to provide information about my parents. Students should only use this option if they have no contact with their parent. For instance, their parent is incarcerated or has not been in the child's life at all. An important question that a lot of students have is, whose information should I provide? Students can read through the options and choose the category that is most like their families. We have now switched to the parent portion of the FAFSA. where the parent will enter their marital status and date of marriage or divorce separation. Pay attention to which parent you are using for first parent and other parent, as it does not matter who you use, but to stay consistent throughout the application. Here is the personal information for other parent. The parent will then answer their own residency questions, and then enter the information for the parent's dependents. It will be the number of siblings that the student has, as well as any others that the parents support financially. For the parent household information, the household size is calculated based on previous answers. The applicant will enter the number of household members in college, including himself or herself. This view is where the parent should choose to use the IRS data retrieval tool. An additional opportunity is presented to the parent to determine if he or she would like to link to the IRS for his or her financial information or to continue to enter it manually. We recommend that all parents and students use the data retrieval tool in order to import the taxes directly from the IRS. It is an easier application as opposed to filling in all of the numbers from the tax form 1040, and there will be less chance of verification after the FAFSA is completed. The parent does have to use his or her FSA ID, and in some cases the data retrieval tool may not work. The parent will then click on Proceed to the IRS and enter his or her FSA ID to continue. This is where the parent provides tax information exactly as it appears on his or her tax return. Some information will be pre-filled from the FAFSA, but make sure the name and address are exactly as it appears on the tax form 1040. The parent will then check the box and transfer his or her federal tax information into the FAFSA form. Here's what the student view of the IRS info will look like after the IRS data retrieval tool is used. If the parent is either ineligible or decides not to use the IRS data retrieval tool, he or she will be required to enter his or her financial information manually. The parent will then enter income information. Remember that there are question marks to explain the response needed. Parent questions for tax filers only. Parent additional financial information. Parent untaxed income. And parent assets. We are then back to student information. This is asking if the student filed taxes in 2020. If the student did not file taxes, just mark did not file. If students did not file taxes, the students will enter how much money they made for the year in another step. If they did not make any money, they will enter $0 as their income. If students did file taxes, they should also use the IRS data retrieval tool. Here is where the student will enter financial information manually. And the student income from work and student additional IRS info. Student questions for tax filers only. Student additional financial info. Student untaxed income. And finally, student assets. You will then be able to view every answer that you have given on the FAFSA before submitting it. You will want to make sure that all answers are accurate. If correct, click Continue. This is where the student acknowledges the certification statement and clicks Sign and Submit. If the student logged into the FAFSA with his or her FSA ID, one parent will need to sign here if the student is dependent. If the student is independent, there will be no further signatures required. The choice between parents is only present if information was provided for two parents. Otherwise, this view does not display. Make sure you click on the correct parent to fill in the FSA ID. This is where the parent acknowledges the certification statement and clicks Continue. One parent will then need to sign the FAFSA with his or her FSA ID. The parent can click on Forgot Username or Password to recover it, or call 1-800-4FED-AID. Electronically processing is easier and processes faster than printing, signing, and mailing in the FAFSA. So only print it if it is the only way possible. If a parent does not have a Social Security number, this is where the parent will mark other options to sign and submit and be able to print out the FAFSA to sign and mail it in. If the parent has another child who needs to complete a FAFSA, he or she can mark Transfer FAFSA Information. Once the application has been processed successfully, this view will display a congratulations message and information about what happens next. The college that the student has been accepted to will receive the FAFSA information. The next step will be between the student and the college. If the applicant's submitted form has not been processed, an action required screen will notify the applicant of the reason and what to do next. Once the student aid report has been generated, the applicant may select View Student Aid Report on the Year Selection page. The student can then view the financial aid they will be receiving. Upon selecting View Student Aid Report, the student will be brought to the Processing Results view, where he or she will see information about the expected family contribution, EFC. If there has been a change in income, or the student does not believe the EFC is correct, the student is able to discuss it further with the financial aid department. After the college has pulled financial aid information, the students will be notified in their college portal accounts. Here are a couple of resources for you. Orange County Public Schools has a college and career YouTube channel with a lot of great information. Every high school also has a college and career specialist that is available to answer questions.